Hello everybody, and welcome to the second episode of C Programming. And what we're going to do today is variables. Yes, variables. Now, if you watch my Java tutorials, I think these first few tutorials are going to be exactly the same as the C programming. They're almost exactly the same. Like if statements and other stuff are exactly the same, which you don't need to go through these, but if you're total beginner and never programmed before, I strongly advise you to watch this. Now, if you studied math in grade 5 or 4, you might have learnt variables in algebra. Now, variables are things that can be changed, can be manipulated, and represented by a certain sort of, symbol. Now, it could be x, like x is equal to 10, x is equal to 5, or x is 3, or something. And in programming, it is exactly the same. You can manipulate it, you can add 6 to it, you can add 100 to it, or you can add it to another variable, or multiply, or divide it, anything you want to do. Now, when you are in programming and you want to do something with variables, you first have to explain, you have to define it, you have to declare it. Now, declaring it, you first need to tell what type of variable it is. Now, in math, of course, variables are all numbers, but in programming, there are different forms of data types. Now, you can go check out my Java tutorials where I talk about data types. Now, it's exactly the same, besides how much bytes and bits it's allocated. Go check that out. And there are different forms of data types. And what the data type we're going to use in this tutorial, maybe we're probably going to use two. The data type we're going to use in this tutorial is called the integer. Now, because we want to shorten things, we call integer and int. So, when you want to declare a variable, you first type int. Okay? It stands for integer. Now, when you type int, my voice just cracked, Okay, when you type int, you want to name your variable. And when you name your variable, it has to be something special. Like in math, you can say x is equal to 10. So, we can name it x. Now, when we end a line in programming, we always put a semicolon. For example, in our last tutorial, we always had a semicolon. Now, we finished declaring the variable. We finished step 1 of doing variables. Now, when we have variables, we have x. Now, generally, x doesn't have anything, and it's completely useless in this form. Same as math. If you just say x, people won't understand. It'll be like, what the hell? Wow, what? I don't understand x. What's x? So, of course, you have to make x into something. So, next is the assignment operator, assignment step. Now, just like normal basic math, we can just do this. X equals 10. Okay, 120. And then we end it with a semicolon because it's a single statement. Every statement in programming must end with a semicolon. Now, x is equal to 20. Now, how are we going to show this? How am I going to prove it to you? We can use the same method we used in the first tutorial and say, use this, hello world, and we can do like hello humans. Okay, x is equal to. Now, here's something different. When you want to print out a variable, you can't just type x. Now, when you type x, I'll show you. Click yes. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's gonna run. It's gonna say x is equal to x, and it's not going to print x. It's not gonna print the value we want. It's just gonna print x because it's a string of text and it has nothing to do with x. And what we gotta do is we gotta put a %d. Now, what this means is the compiler will know that, okay, you're gonna print a digit there. Now, what digit do you want to print? Then we just put a comma here and put X. Alright? That is basically what's gonna happen. And a little new trick we can do is we can do new line. Okay, this means go to the next line. Okay, so let's print this now. Yes. And look at that. X is equal to 120. Am I right? X is 120. So we are correct. So I think this is enough for one tutorial, but I'll explain one more data type called the double. Now, a double is a floating point data type. You don't really need to understand that. DX. It's basically, I just think of it as a decimal number. So we can, okay, DX is equal to 12.3. Now, an integer cannot have a double because it's an integer, so we use double for decimals. So basically, yeah. And then we can do dx is equal to, and we do a %d here, not %e. And then, of course, what we do here is we put another comma. And then it will first find the first one in the whole string of text, then insert. Okay, it'll find, okay, blah 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 blah. Oh, look, a %d. Oh, look, besides here, there's an x here. We're gonna put that x there. And make a new line. Skip to the next line, and then dx, which is our decimal, is equal to %d. Oh, look, we have another digit we want to print out. Okay, we need to find it there, which we haven't put it there. And then, look at that. Now, what we do now is, let's run it. Let's start. Yes. And dx is equal to 171 press. Damn, that's wrong. Right, I have to change this to F. Right, probably F. Yes, that was embarrassing. And look at that. It does 12.1330. Now, I had to choose this to F. I think it's wrong too, but it's basically a float. But go check that out later. And %d is basically a digit and it will only work for integers. Now, there are different forms of these, which I'll teach you in the future, but not now. Alright, so this is our basic variable program. Now, let me go through all this all again, just to make you guys feel clear and confident of this. Now, a variable is basically like in math, a variable that can be manipulated, can be changed, and represent a certain number. Now, in programming, you can't just do X. You have to say what form and what kind of variable it is. And we say it's an integer or a double. Double means double precision floating point, but you don't really need to know that now. But we have an integer and a double, which is basically a decimal. Just think of it as a decimal right now. And here we assign it to something by using the equals operator. It's called the assignment operator. Now we say dx is equal to 12.3. Okay, now dx holds the value 12.3. Like in math, you can say, okay, 10 is equal to 6. And then, b is equal to 6, and a is equal to 10. And then b plus a, it's 16, because it represents a number. And then we do x equals 120. Now x is equal to 120. Now what do we do now? We print f like we print on screen like the last episode video or whatever, and then we do x is equal to %d. Find the %d, and then it prints it here and outside using the semicolons. Then we make a new line over here, and then we do dx is equal to %f, and then we print out dx. And basically that's it for my variable tutorial on C, and I hope you learned something. And of course, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It is much appreciated, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.